Hello everyone, my name is Dakoba and welcome back to Satisfactory. Today we are going to be beginning by setting up a little bit more robust of a starter factory. We've got our basic iron production lines here, we've got some wire being produced but not cable, and we need to clean this up. Now I want to wait to do a full starter area build until I have the tools ready to do it in a cinematic style. So we'll revisit this periodically over the next few episodes to keep sprucing it up as we are more and more able to do that. But right now we need to clean this up, get rid of this spaghetti mess of our very first production lines, and establish something that we can sort of leave while we go about and do other things, while we advance through the tiers, while we go exploring, and so on. Once that's finished, it is time for us to start looking into some other things. And one of the things I want to do today is set up a more permanent power solution. Right now we're sitting on 4 biomass burners just sort of plopped down in the desert. We want to set up a proper power plant. It will be a biomass power plant. We're going to make use of the new fuel inputs. And I think I've got a design in mind that I think is going to be pretty clean. So we'll take a look at that. And we're also going to go exploring. We're going to explore the rocky desert and see what's out there, see what we can find, see if we can find some hard drives and get some alternate recipes, see if we can find any new nodes. I knew the map pretty well in early access, but there's been a lot of changes in 1.0, and I'm excited to see what they are and just experience the world again with a fresh set of eyes. I can't wait to do it. Once we're done with our exploration, we're going to take a look at the map. We're going to dive into some of the resources that we find. Hopefully we'll be able to find some of the rare materials, as well as do some alien hunting and other things like that, and explore the research trees in the map and see if there's anything we can unlock that'll give us some better utility around our base and in our factories going forward. Let's get into it. All right, and that is a basic starter iron factory all complete. We've also got some concrete production and some wire and cabling being made alongside our iron plates, iron rods, and screws. We're also going to be keeping our second concrete facility up and running there in the distance. Looks like I've forgotten to reconnect the power to that, so we'll fix that. But we're going to leave that one as is until we are ready to properly redesign it. All that's doing is mining some concrete and storing it into, mining some limestone, turning it into concrete and storing it in a storage container. Having a spare storage container full of concrete will be very nice in time, so we'll leave that as it is. Obviously, we're going to want to be able to recapture some of these, some more of this iron when we're ready. We're currently pulling 120 iron ore out of the ground, but we're only using about 60 of that. So once we double that, we'll want to be able to extend this. And that's part of the reason I did this design the way I did, is that we have plenty of room to continue building off in this direction once we get these trees cleared out. Speaking of which, that's our next task, is to solidify our power production, give us a little bit more of a stable base. Biomass is never going to be completely stable the way coal or other later game power is, but if we can take care of the obstacle clearing milestone and set up solid biofuel production facility and a biomass power plant, we should be able to leave for several hours at a time before we have to return with more biomass to load into the machine, and that is going to be our next goal. Now, the design for this biomass power plant, I've actually already done a video on, so you can check that out. I'll leave a link in the description. Now, before we get started with our solid biofuel power plant, we have one milestone we need to take care of, and that is obstacle clearing. That'll give us the chainsaw as well as the recipe for solid biofuel. We'll need the chainsaw both to clear out some of the foliage that's sticking in our base right now, and kind of making it a little bit messier than I'd like it to be. And the solid biofuel recipe is actually a core part of the base. So let's go ahead and set that up. Looks like we have the concrete on us, but we'll need to gather some iron and some cabling. Now, it's been less than a day. You can see I built this whole thing during the last day. It's still that first night, and we've already built up 2.5 stacks of screws. Let's go see how much cable we've made. Should be plenty. I think we're making 30 a minute, and so it's only been 10 or 15 minutes. But we should have, yeah, several stacks. So we'll go ahead and just grab a stack and a half there. And that should be enough to get this milestone cleared out. And then we'll be able to clear out all these little chunks of wood that are sticking through our foundations, as well as a lot of these trees back here that are muddying the place up, and use that biomass for power.
Milestone reached. Solid biofuel, created from any biomass, ensures maximum efficiency of biomass burners. To aid in biofuel production, the chainsaw allows for the removal of tougher wood and coral foliage. Additionally, your pocket dimension has been inflated to increase inventory size. Inspirational note: will you be the Fix-It Employee of the Month? You could be, if you construct, automate, explore and exploit by eliminating all obstacles to efficiency. This isn't just fun, it's contractually mandated, fun.
All right, for us to use a chainsaw, we need to build one, and that comes in out of the equipment workshop. So we'll just set one of these up right next to our hub here.
The fruit of this fungus-like flora does not seem to show much potential for use. However, its mycelial network is worth further investigation. Research it in the MAM to establish classification and potential application.
All right, with that out of the way, let's build a power plant. All right, and that is a biomass power plant up and running and working to keep our factory going. We've still got our spare burners off on the right. I'll clear those out when we're ready to do a deeper rebuild of this place. But for now, a little bit of extra power generation is not going to hurt. I'm just going to ignore them when they run out of fuel. So be it. But that will provide up to 450 megawatts of power. Right now it can do 225. We'll need to replace some belts to get the full 450 out of it. that will come when we are ready to replace those belts. With that up and running though, we should now be in a position where we can leave our base for quite a while at a time. If this thing were fully stocked on biomass, we should be able to get 6 to 8 hours. Right now I think we're probably in the 1 to 2 hour range, just because we haven't had enough time to gather all that biomass yet. But that's one of our tasks for today. While we go exploring, we're going to take our chainsaw with us, chop down some trees, and hopefully hunt down some aliens and be able to use some of the alien protein as biomass as well. So let's pop down and see what we've got. Now, just sort of incidentally, as we sort of explore and do stuff, we had encountered things like mycelia. We've taken on some hogs early on and got some hog DNA and a spitter, and then we found some barrel nuts as well. But we haven't found anything, and we haven't done any research. That's our goal for the rest of the episode, is to unlock all these trees, is to go around and gather up the bare minimum to do some of this research, as well as to start taking a look at crash sites and some hard drives. So for example, we have the mycelia, which we gathered while we were gathering biomass. We can go ahead and research that to unlock the next few items in the tree and see if there's anything we want to dive into straight away. Now there's fabric, which uses biomass, and that might actually be something we want to do, because I believe that's used for a parachute. Since we're going to be exploring, we may be leaping from high places, so we'll take a look at that before we leave base. Now, the gas novelist requires some advanced components we don't have access to, and so do the medicinal properties, so we can't do any more in that tree right now. We can unlock the barrel nut here, so we can go ahead and take a look at that, see what that opens up for us. And that looks like it takes some modular frames and steel pipes, so once we have some of those, we can consider that. Now, if we're able to find these components, the modular frames and the steel pipes, this may be one that we want to unlock sooner rather than later, because I believe what that unlocks is the nutritional inhaler that's made from the barrel nuts, the pale berries, and the bacon agaric mushrooms. If we can find, so again, if we can get through that tree, we're able to craft those things with things we'll find out in the world. So that's definitely something to look at. And I actually stored our hog. So let's go ahead and see if we can unlock anything there and see if there's anything else we want to do before we leave base again. That's the priority. All right, so we got our biomass, and going back into mycelia, we can go ahead and research fabric. All right, now that did reveal a number of other research trees. The gas mask, which requires coal, and steel pipes, which we don't have, as well as a ton of fabric. So not in a position to do that. Polyester fabric will require something, refinement of crude oil, so we can't do that one. And this one requires rotors, so not quite yet, but maybe soon. However, the parachute just requires 10 fabric and 50 cabling, and that might be something. We've got the 50 cable. The 10 fabric would take 10 mycelia and 50 biomass. We have that, so let's go ahead and do that. That way we can have that as we go out and go exploring. It's always worth doing this research, because you never know what you're going to find that you happen to have, either because you found resources out in the world or what.
Parachute unlocked. Fix-It appreciates your willingness to descend rapidly to perform your duties, but damaging Fix-It property is a breach of contract and will have unpleasant consequences. Improve descent efficiency by combining the forces of gravity and drag with a parachute.
All right, now to actually craft the parachute, we do need 20 mycelia, and I don't know. Are these things mycelia? Is that what gives it to us? Yes, so we were able to get it just by chopping down that little batch of cactuses. So now, if we come on over here, we can whip up 20 more fabric. So let's go clean up our inventory, make sure we have enough buildable materials to do everything we want to do. We can drop off. Don't need our mycelia anymore. Probably don't need quite so many screws. We'll want to hang on to 5 reinforced iron plates so we can build MAMs on the road. But we've got some plates, we've got some rods, we've got some wire, we've got some concrete. I think we might want to get some more concrete on the way out, but otherwise we should be good. I suppose we can drop off our hog and hatcher remains. We don't need those just now. All right, let's head out and see what the world has in store for us. This is something I'm so excited for. Oh my gosh. They've put so much work and care into the world. and I can't wait to experience it. And one of the things is that I haven't actually played with Creature AI on since they redid the Creature AI in Update 7. I turned it off for Update 8, just because at that time I wanted to focus more on building factories and less on playing a really intense combat game. But first bacon agaric mushroom.
Potential edible collected. Reminder that look and smell alone do not provide sufficient data to determine exact risk of consumption. Just because it looks like you can eat it does not mean it won't eat you. Research it in the MAM to establish classification and potential application.
Tools we're going to use. We have our flashlight with B that we can use to highlight things in front of us. And right now we've got our trusty Xeno Zapper for combat. Eventually we'll want to get some additional weapons. Oh, looks like we found our first critter here. This is a spitter. They have a ranged plasma attack, so we want to be real careful and sneak up on them. Now there's a couple ways you can deal with these. One is to sneak up and just try and bum rush them, knock them down before they can get you. Another one is to keep your distance, especially if you have a ranged weapon. They're pretty easy to dodge their shots. Just wait till they fire and then duck out of the way. We're going to sneak up on this guy and hopefully we'll get him without taking too much damage. I spotted us at the last second. Oh. Got him. Alright. We have helped him evolve into his final form.
Samples of unknown alien species acquired. Their weaponized plasma is most likely stored as a stable chemical substance in an organ close to their mouth, and only turns volatile when exposed to one of the chemical elements in the air. Research the remains in the MAM to establish classification and potential countermeasures.
Right, now as we explore, we're going to be keeping an eye out for some clusters of rarer minerals. I think there are 3 in particular we're looking for: sulfur, quartz, and caterium. And we're going to look for nodes for those around the edge of cliff sides and things like that. Sometimes they're out in the open as well. Now the hatchers, like I said, if we crouch down and sneak up on them, they're significantly less dangerous, because they won't attack if they can't hear you. Got this guy here. This one looks a little different than the ones I've seen before. Goes down just the same, though. Wonder if that was an alpha hatcher. Yellow power slug. Problem is, they don't usually just leave yellow power slugs. Got some stingers. Fortunately, if you see them coming, they aren't that the little ones aren't that dangerous. The big ones are pretty gnarly.
Samples of unknown alien species acquired. Initial data suggests these are predators, but notably they do not have a traditional mouth or eyes. There are, however, numerous cavities on their head which could fulfill a similar function. Research the remains in the MAM to establish classification and potential countermeasures. This semi-slug species seems to persist entirely through absorbing and storing energy from its surroundings. Studying this could provide new methods for improving fix-it production line efficiency. Research it in the MAM to establish classification and potential application.
That's the right way to deal with those, is to just be really proactive about staying ahead of the flying crabs, making sure that you don't get overwhelmed by them. Looks like we've got our first Mercer sphere up here. Let's go ahead and grab that. Beautiful.
This bleeding temple hums the resident song. Play for us.
The astrobiologist Dr. D.M. Mercer was the first to recognize the presence and probable nature of these alien artifacts. These chain-melted state spheres are named in his honor. Each sphere emits a unique signal. Research it in the MAM to establish locally appropriate classification and application.
Right, looks like we've got several enemies up here. There's a spitter and a couple of hatchers, so I think we're going to duck in and take out the hatchers first. Let's sneak around here. Not get too overwhelmed by them, just take them out quick. We'll heal through the damage later, and we'll try and keep the drop pod between us and the spitter so that we can use it to body block. As an advanced technique, I believe the enemies can damage each other as well. So so he took a shot at that hatcher there, and so we only needed to hit 3 times. And there you go. Nice and easy. Fortunately, this pod takes solid biofuel, which we have aplenty.
Damaged hard drive successfully acquired. All pioneers are contractually obliged to preserve and secure any recovered hard drives for analysis in the MAM, which may result in benefits to the Fix-It mission. Speculation as to why there are crashed freighters in your Fix-It designated zone is discouraged as specified in your contract.
And it's nice from up here, we can take a look around. We have a great vantage point now for looking for points of interest, things we want to explore. So we can see there's a crashed drop pod there. We've got this plateau in the center that looks like it could be interesting. See some mineral veins there in the distance we might want to take a look at. Looks like there might be something over on top of this. If we go into photo mode, we can zoom in and see there. So I wonder if the green is on the rocks in the background, but there's a drop pod on that platform, so that's nice. Don't see anything else just yet, so I think that's all we're going to be looking for up here now. Now, since we do have a hard drive, we want to do a little bit of research. The MAM can run in the background while we go exploring. Now, we don't have enough cabling, so let's whip some of that up. But we'll go ahead and start our hard drive and then continue exploring. And as we find more hard drives, we can simply, unlock them and keep them unlocked. We'll get that started. And let's see. We don't quite have enough to do anything with the rebar gun right now. We don't have the reinforced iron plates for it. We might be able to craft them back at base, but I think we'll just get this hard drive started and then carry on with our exploration and see what we find. Now that we've gotten to this higher vantage point, we can use some tricks in order to make things work. So for example, one of those things is if we hold Alt and we right click on that hard drive, we can set up a map pin there. And then if we open the map with M, we can see where it is. So we can set up sort of points of interest that we want to explore. Right, let's use our parachute. See if we can scout out this pillar. It has some interesting geology, interesting shape to the rocks, and I just want to see, because I suspect there's something on top of it. I've played video games before. When you put a bunch of poison flowers guarding a plateau, there's usually something on it. Maybe there's not. Maybe it's a trick. Ah, I found it. A rare mineral vein. That is perfect. That is one of the things we're looking for. Tyrium ore.
Unknown metal collected. This metallic element is showing properties similar to those in Group 11 on the periodic table, such as high conductivity and malleability. Research it in the MAM to establish classification and potential application.
Alright, now we've got a spitter guarding this blue power slug. Let's try and grab this slug real quick. Nope, gonna let us. Alright, we'll take care of him. If you jump backward right as the spitter ball contacts, or right as they're firing if you're up close, you take less damage. Alright, looks like we've got a yellow mineral up here, some sulfur. Perfect.
Unknown chemical element collected. This non-metallic and multivalent element seems to be present only in a solid state, and exhibits a most pungent smell. It is fortunate Fix-It helmets are of such high quality. Research it in the MAM to establish classification and potential application.
Alright, and I recognize where we are. This is right where we touched down on the first day, and these hogs attacked us out of nowhere, so we're going to help them evolve into some hog remains and into some alien protein. Alright, that's a convenient drop pod. I love it when they give you the materials that you need right there at the site. Makes it so easy to get into the hard drives. Oh, and we found our quartz. Perfect. This is the last of the rare minerals we need.
Unknown crystalline mineral collected. This mineral is composed of the same chemical elements as quartz and may yield similar industrial functions. Research it in the MAM to establish classification and potential application.
I'm doing some work with the map here. One of the things that I like to do is keep a log of all the drop pods that I found, because later on in the game, when we, there's almost 100 alternate recipes, or there used to be, I'm not sure on the exact numbers in 1.0, but we want to make sure that we have a log of which ones we found, because later on we may want to go to an online tool to find a map of all of the hard drives and compare to find which ones we've lost. Because once you've got, 95 of 108 hard drives or whatever, it's sometimes hard to track down the last one, especially since you can't clear the debris. So it's not like any wreckage you've seen before. So by having them marked on the map, we'll always be able to tell which ones we've visited and which ones we haven't. All right, we got another drop pod over here. This one looks like it's guarded by a couple of hatchers, so we'll sneak on up. Take them out nice and quiet. Have to make sure we whisper, because hatchers in the game can hear us talking if we talk too loudly here. There we go. Perfect. Gather up the rest of the materials here and see what this hard drive takes. Oh, perfect. Nothing. No requirements on this one. That makes it nice and easy. All right, and I think that's probably going to do it for exploration. Our inventory is full, so let's head on back and see what we have. We've taken on, I think, all of the critters. We got hogs, we got spitters, we got stingers, and we got hatchers. Gathered up some hard drives, gathered up all 3 of the rare mineral types. We found some pale berries, we found some barrel nuts and some bacon agarics, but no pale berries yet. So that's something we still need to research. We found a Mercer sphere, no summer sloop or SAM yet, so we'll need to find those next. So there may be some more exploration in our future, but I think we've got quite a lot that we can start with. We can open up several more research trees in the MAM, and we may be able to better equip ourselves with things like a rebar gun before we go exploring again to make combat a little bit easier.
Analysis completed.
All right, now our first hard drive, I've opened up our first hard drive, and it looks like we have a choice between iron wire or inventory slots, and these are both fantastic. Now, inventory slots are really tempting here because we've been struggling with inventory, but iron wire is such a valuable recipe that we are going to take that straight away and start on another hard drive. Because the inventory slots, while nice, are not a feature upgrade. They're a quality of life thing, and that's certainly something we need. But the iron wire, I think, will be more useful going forward. It means we can take several resources or several recipes that are normally mixed copper and iron and turn them into iron only, which makes where we place those factories and the logistics lines supporting them much, much simpler. So it's a recipe I love and I'll probably use throughout the game. And we'll go ahead and start on our next hard drive. And I think that's where we're going to leave it for today. We've hit just about everything on our checklist for today. In our next episode, we're going to build some factories for reinforced iron plates and rotors and dive into phase 2, particularly probably push straight through and get a coal power plant set up so that we have access to a more stable power supply. We'll also do some more exploring and some more research in the MAM and just see what we can unlock and see if there are any other technologies that we want to embrace early on. Things like Caterium may be interesting for us for the zipline or smart splitters, for example. I'd like to thank you guys for taking a few minutes out of your day to spend with me here in the world of Satisfactory. I hope you found this episode interesting or useful. Leave a like if you have and subscribe if you'd like to see more. My name is Takoba, and I hope you have an efficient day. I'll see you soon.